Good afternoon, morning, or afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful day in the Lord. I hope things are going well for you today. I hope things are looking up for you today. Um, so I was thinking about offerings, right? To be a living sacrifice. God calls us to be a living sacrifice for Him. And so I started reading Leviticus chapter 1 through 6 and looking at all the different kind of offerings that they had to provide to the altar, right? And depending on the type of conduct or sin or whatever happened, depended on the type of offering. And there were different types of offerings, right? There was a grain offering, a sin offering, a trespass offering, a burnt offering, offering with restitution. There was a guilt offering. There was a peace offering. And there was also an offering for unintentional sin, meaning that if you didn't know what you did was sinful or what you didn't know at the time that was wrong, and then you were gleaned to the fact that this was a wrong conduct or a action of sin, then you would give an unintentional offering, an unintentional sin offering, and you would give it to the priest, and then the priest would take it, and then they would go to the altar, and they had a procedure on how they had to do the offering, right? And we even see that with Aaron, his sons, and what happened with his sons when they took an unclean offering to God. God killed them, right? And then his sons were taken out of the camp and buried. Thankfully, a lot of us don't have that kind of offering anymore, right? Why? Because Jesus came down and he was the unblemished lamb. He was a sacrificial lamb for all of our sins. So therefore, we don't have to do the offerings of old, right? We don't have to do those type of sacrifices, those type of offerings. However, for me personally, there was a time where I first came to Christ 5 years ago. Some of you know that. And when I did, I was struggling really bad with smoking. I would drink every so often. I wouldn't drink. I wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't drink to fit in. But every now and then I would have a drink, beer or some harder alcohol. But where I struggled the most was with my language, with cigarette smoking. I did struggle with desires, unhealthy desires and lust of being single and just going around and fornicating whenever. So when I started becoming a new creature and going to God and learning about all these things, I would go to the altar and I would lay the things down that I was offering to God to take away from me, right? I would pray intensely. I would fast and pray, God, take away the desire for other women. Take away that desire from me. Take away that lust from me. I offered up my cigarettes. I went there and I just remember taking a carton of cigarettes and putting it on the altar and saying, God, I sacrifice this desire to you. Take it away from me. This is unhealthy. It's unclean. I don't want it. I am representing you. So let me represent you to the best of my ability. Let me represent you in the capacity that you are calling me to represent you as. Get rid of this unhealthy desire. Get rid of this from me. You are going to reside in me, and I don't want to destroy the temple that you've created, which is me, where you live inside. I don't want to destroy it. I don't want to tear it down. And by doing that, by giving that up, by giving that to God, it was a work in progress. And every time I would go and I would have a cigarette, or every time I would go and have a drink, or every time I would sit and I would look at a woman with desire, I would go and pray. I would pray. I would get to that altar and I would weep, like, God, help me with this. Take these desires from me. I am trying to be Christ like. I'm trying to be like you. I want to live for you, and I can't do that if I'm doing these things. And I struggled with it, but I gave it and took it to the altar. I gave it to the altar. I took it to the altar. Now, in the day of old, we would have different types of things, and then everybody would know your sin. And I think that sometimes we go to churches, and I don't know about all churches, but my church has an altar. I go there. Sometimes I'll drive out to the church at different times, and I will go there and I would just go to the church and pray. I'll go to the altar and pray. Not because I'm sinning, but so I can get closer to God to help prevent me from sinning. Okay. I still struggle sometimes with different things, different attitudes or beliefs, or sometimes I may say things that don't represent God in a holy manner. I may get agitated and act irrational, throwing a 2-year-old temper tantrum, so to speak. So I ask God to remove these things out of my life. And when I do that, I go to God, I go to the altar, and I'm sacrificing myself to Him and asking Him to destroy whatever is hindering me from getting closer to Him. And sometimes it can be a belief. And if it is a belief that may be unintentional, it may be a thought that's unintentional, right? And then someone tells me, "Hey, brother, that's borderline sinful behavior." I take that to the altar. I might not take it to the altar right away because I want to pray about it and figure this out and have God talk to me. But then I will go to the altar and I will pray upon it. I think it's important that we do that. I think it's important if we're living for Christ and we are Christ-like and we are going to present ourselves as a living sacrifice that the Bible talks about, then I think that you have to go to an altar. I think that you have to strengthen your prayer life. I feel like you have to get to an altar and lay those things down. That's just my opinion. Like I said, we don't practice the things of the old, but if you're struggling with something, whether it's an addiction or an attitude or anything of that nature, just take it to an altar. Find an altar. It doesn't even have to be in a church. You can build one at home. Your prayer closet or your bedroom, or you could actually have an altar and lay things on the altar. I would be careful with that, because if you're suffering from an addiction and you have it in the house and you put it on an altar, you may want to go back to that item or those things. So I would get it far away from you as possible. So with that, I'm just going to end this video. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope you guys are blessed. I hope you stay blessed. Just think about this for a bit. If you want, please go read Leviticus 1-6, and you can kind of see what I am speaking of, and then think of kind of how that has or plays a role in your life today. We don't have to go and burn or sacrifice goats or any of this other stuff. I'm not saying that. But whatever you're struggling with, you can go and take it to an altar. With that, I just want to say I love you guys. God bless. Stay in love. Stay in the Word.